Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University, and Major X issue 0. Consider grabbing this issue. This is the culmination of his Major X run. I believe this is the culmination of the run that he was trying to do back in the day when he first started all of this, and then eventually just up and left Marvel and, did his own thing. Wow. I'm a little bit glad that it happened this way, though, because I think he gave it even more respect than he would have given it back then. Anyway, let's get talking about who made this book, and then we'll talk a little bit more about the book itself. Rob Liefeld did the art, the pencils, and the writing for this book. The inks were done by Liefeld and Adelso Corona and Corey Hampshire. I did the best I could. Romulo Fierro Jr. on colors, VC's Joe Sabino on letters, Liefeld and Fierro Jr. on the cover, variant covers, Liefeld and Chris Stevens, and another by Ed Piskor. Nice, I didn't realize that Piskor did one of these. Anyway, guys, there's a whole bunch of stories in here. The main one that is in the beginning and the end of this book is what it is. The rest of the stuff is actually done, like the All Along the Watchtower and another story that's back up in here were both done with Liefeld doing the plot and pencils, Norm Refn on, I can't see that name, on inks, Eric Stevenson on scripts, Digital Broom did the colors, and Rick and Comic Crafts Troy on letters. Is that Troy Pateri? I'm not sure. No, it's a larger world. Anyway, so there's a bunch of people involved in this book, man. Basically, it's not necessarily how Major X got promoted to Major X. It turns out there's a Lieutenant X, there's a General X, there's a Colonel X, there's a whole bunch of X's out there, Captain X. So that's interesting, which means that there's potential for a whole lot of more stories from here. Do we want to see them? Yeah, I kind of do. I kind of do. It's interesting to see. I think that somebody mentioned at one point where the sword came from. I'm pretty sure that Liefeld at one point mentioned in maybe issue number 1 of Major X where the sword came from. But I do know that when this happened, when they showed where the sword came from, I kind of looked at it like, okay, cool, I expected that. But it's the idea that he gave a story also as to how all of this happened. He gave a story as to, okay, basically this is more of a Wolverine story than it is a Major X story. Major X is barely even in it. And by it being a Wolverine story, in case nobody's noticed before, Rob Liefeld happens to be a huge fan of Wolverine. I mean, he's the one who had Shatterstar bowing to, like, he created this character, Shatterstar, just to say, yeah, Wolverine's the greatest warrior of all of, history. Yeah, I kind of like this kid. He's always given massive amounts of respect to Wolverine. And he doesn't change his modus operandi in this book. In fact, it's like he almost exacerbates it a bit. He doesn't make him uber, like when we love a character, it's like, oh, Wolverine, he could take down the Juggernaut. He's never beaten the Juggernaut before, so how does that happen exactly? Oh, Wolverine, man, yeah, remember that time he took down a Celestial? No, I'll write that story. No. Sometimes being the greatest isn't about winning. It's about not staying down. Well, Wolverine's never stayed down. For crying out loud, he fought his way back from being trapped inside of an adamantium shell encasing. So come on. It's always great to see a character who we all love, in this case Wolverine, and then seeing another person who already we're talking about Liefeld here, who already has a really solid following behind him. And of course, he's got his detractors. Everybody's got their detractors. And a lot of people can be a bunch of jerks when you're an anonymous person on the internet without even a face or a name, But when you actually see this person giving the amount of respect that he does to Wolverine, it reminds you why you love this character. It reminds you why you got into comic books, maybe. You know what I'm saying? This comic book is great. Not because it's a Major X comic book. Like I said, he's barely even in this book. It's just about the respect that Liefeld gives to Wolverine in these two major stories that are in here, and the overarching story as to where that sword actually came from. It solidifies it. Almost sounds like a pun, right? Definitely a good story. The other major X books, 1 through 7, had a 1 through 7, 1 through 6, had a better story in it. Whatever, it was about Major X. This one, radically different, and yet somehow just a little bit better in its own way. Anyway, guys, I can give nothing but props to this book. This was really, really well done. A couple of new characters show up in here. It's not even the point. It's not even the point. This is a respect book. Treat it as that. Professor Bill, Comic Book University. Class dismissed.